Good evening to all students. Today, our discussion will be more, of course, this will be an interaction, but I will be giving on the insights about how past, you can say, past 70, 50 to 2000, yeah, past 70 years, uh, what all those incidents, occasions, and provisions have been done in our elections, which is a kind of festival in India. Not taking much of the time, and I would like to actually start with the discussion. If anyone of you know, when in which year actually the first election, general election, was conducted?
1950.
In which year?
So in 1951. I don't remember the date, but the year was 1951 only.
Are you sure it was 1951?
Yes, sir. Before 1951, we had deputy prime minister, but general election was never conducted. The first elected prime minister was Jawaharlal Nehru, and he was elected by 1951 election.
The election was conducted not in the year of 1951. It was conducted in the year of 1952. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But what was the things going around behind the scene just before the elections or just to prepare for the election? What all the things were going around?
Sir, the government was facing problems related to, there were some socio-economic problems, and definitely there was there was mass killing when the partition of the country happened. And sir, another thing was that there was a growing tendency of there was a constant demand from the south regions, south areas, that they want to separate the state on the basis of linguistics. They want to separate state on linguistic basis. So these kind of problems the government was facing in 1950s.
Okay. So, is there any background to our general elections before this? Had we ever went to any of the election before this?
So before that, we had the election for Constituent Assembly, which was in the Dominion of India.
When it was conducted?
I don't remember the year, sir.
In the year of 1945, if I remember, if I do remember, in the year of 1945, we did the council elections actually, and in that, Indian National Congress have won the maximum number of seats, and the Muslim League was the second forerunner for that, and that was only the trigger point where people around other communities or people around different ideology, they thought of let us go and go for the division. That was the root cause, or of course, that was the trigger point for the initiation of the top for the state or for the country, which is called as Pakistan. Okay, because Muslim League got the less number of representation or less number of the seats. Just going, just going to our previous era, of course, in the Vedic period of even the pre-Vedic period. If you do remember, or if you see the election process in India, this process is still there. Whatever we are actually following, if you go to any of the tribal community, they are choosing their chief members or the heads in their tribal community. And the Ghana system is still actually working in these tribal areas. So it is not new format which we were following actually that election. And the same format which what we are doing is that has been followed by all these tribes since long, thousands or 2000 years back, they keep on doing. And if you go to the history or the background of this election system, in southern part of India, you will find some of the stories where people used to distribute these palm leaves and the mud pots. They were calling it as a Kodampalak celebration. But with this Kodampalak celebration, they were actually choosing their heads or the chief of the cities or of the villages or of the towns. So it was not new to us that we were actually choosing our leaders by way of such format that is called as election. Now coming to the very first election, had you ever went to this phase? How many parties or how many members or who won that particular, or what was that actually? Or you went through one of any of the article which I have said. Did anyone of you went through that particular article, or anyone would like to narrate on that? How was our first election? Of course.
So I didn't read that particular article, but I think that there were only two major parties which were contesting the election. The one was Communist and the other was the Congress. And definitely Congress won the majority of seats because the Congress was quite popular at that point in time because of the image of Mahatma Gandhi. They won the elections.
Any other anyone else would like to say on this? How was our first general election in the year 1952?
And sir, I would like to say one more thing. Sir, when our constitution was presented by our constitutional framers in parliament, so many people also said that the process of election in India is the first past the post. Instead of first past the post, we should adopt proportional representation or what we call that other kind of system. But at that point in time, B.R. Ambedkar said that.
I will come to that. What the discussion was. We will come to that particular format. There are different types of format, of course, in election.
Yes,
Across
sir.
there are different types of formats which have been utilized or used. Okay, so in the year 1952, when the first general election was there, it was a simple ballot box general election where people used to tick on their uh, preferences by the black ink on the paper which has been given, dropping that particular paper and that ballot box, and then we are counting actually. This particular format, this seems to be there till 1990 or 1992 or so. That I will come to know when we have reformed this particular segment to the segment which we are now following, that is EVM machine with printable responses too. But once we see the inside, or once we see the our general elections, there was somewhere around 53 parties which were contesting in that particular general election. Which was, I request all to actually permit others, those who are not there, at least co-host, they should permit others. Okay, because Manjista, I think, she is asking for permission. In the beginning, in that particular 1952 era or 1952 year, there was a general election conducted, and 53 parties were the contestant among themselves. There were 1,800 candidates which were fighting actually among themselves, and there were 489 seats as compared to the present 550, 545 or so. So this was the scenario. This was the beginning of our general election in 1952. The journey has been it's been tremendous. So many reforms that we have covered, so many good stories, so many such incidents, occasions that really we feel proud to our Election Commission of India that they are doing this particular tremendous job. And yeah, Jayaprakash Narayan was there in the first election. Uh, he was very well present there. Even during first election, our honorable uh, previous prime ministers, that is Atal Bihari Vajpayee was also there. Okay, he was also the part of that. Manmohan Singh was also the part of that. So many were there actually. It's not that they were not there during that particular era, but they were not the part of any, you can say, party or so, because they were in their childhoods.
So they were
Uh,
the independent elections, independent the candidates.
they were the independent candidates, or they were their parties was at nascent stage. It was not such groomed party, which is now presently actually, and with a different name also. Bharatiya Janata Party was not at all into existence at that particular time. Okay, so this is a very new or fresh party in India that is now it occurred, which is on the in the power actually. So now coming to the achievements or what exactly our Election Commission of India is doing. If you see the real time achievement, I must say there is one instance where election is to be conducted in the state of Himachal Pradesh, and there were only 36 voters were there in that particular premises or at that particular village. That village name is Tasigana, and Tasigana having a resident of only 36 voters, but still a huge round of applause to Election Commission of India that they did actually this particular election, although less number of voters were there. So this is how the legislative body, or the body which is actually governing this particular elections in across India, this is working and this is working for the people, I must say. Coming to I will not be covering as the era, of course, how it happened or how it was, or the schedule will not be the same because I will be covering the reforms or types of reforms in this election commission. So just at the beginning, I have covered the background of this. We all know that our election is coming under Election Commission of India. That is the nodal agency. That is the institution which is actually taking care of all the elections, either the elections of general elections or the Lok Sabha elections or the Raj Sabha elections or the president or the panchayati election. Any form of election is going around. Election Commission is only the nodal agency, and Chief Election Commissioner is the head of that. But we will not be talking more about that. But several reforms were there, or some good stories, or remember. And one more thing, the work which I did for a 1 month long period, the whole story of that particular work I cannot narrow it in one day. So we will take some of the stories today, and we will take the same topic and deliver some of the stories tomorrow also. That is for the election reform. Now coming to, you might be knowing tender ballots. How many of you know about the tender ballots? Did anyone know about the tender ballots? What it is?
So the normal voting system where the person just simply puts a stamp on the name of the candidate to which he is going to vote. So that's the tender ballot, I think.
Okay. Somehow symbolic, of course. Before our general elections, we were actually following this tender ballot system only, and of course, we keep on saying that this is a ballot type of election, but not the tender ballot actually. The tender ballot is kept in each and every election center actually. Why it is being kept? Suppose like I am going to cast my vote in an election, in any of the format, that is for Raj Sabha, for the Lok Sabha, for Panchayati Raj, at any form, uh, place or at any of the occasion. But at any point of time, I came to know that someone has casted any vote against my name. At that particular time, I will go and ask to the vigilance officer there that someone has put or someone has used my name, and he or she has uh, casted a vote against my name. But I would like to cast my vote here again. So just what the verification officer and the officer, those presiding officer of that particular center, that is election center, he or she will do. He will verify your documents. He will verify your uh, evidence of your document. He will verify from the chart, and then he will allow you to put your or to cast your vote in that particular tender. Earlier, this was actually the system where we are actually counting all of these votes are going in that particular ballot. But now, because we are using an EVM system or a separate system, that is why we are saying that this becomes a tender ballot. Tender ballot in the sense those will be accountable, but there are the chances that someone else is casting your vote, and just to acknowledge that no one else can cast your vote or use your name to cast your vote, this provision is being actually done. So, and if you go through the Article 49P, as per the Constitution of India, uh, this provision is given actually that presiding
Article 49.
49P, okay, that presiding officer of an center, that is election center, he or she, if he or she came to know about this by any of the person, after verification of the documents and the list, and matching that particular list with the document, he will ask that person or that individual to cast the vote in the tender ballot. Okay. And there is one good movie, of course, the southern movie, South movie is also there, called as Sarkar. If you see that particular movie, Sarkar movie, the story behind this Sarkar movie is the same. That someone else has casted that particular vote against the person. He fight during the election time at the center that I am here. This is my identity. This is my documents. Please ask officials to make me to actually cast the vote. The complete story is behind that particular theme only. So people, those who are interested to see, they must see this particular movie also. Now coming to how many of you know about the emergency? What was that emergency? Uh, any point of time we keep on actually saying there was an era of emergency. What was
Yes, sir.
that actually?
So it was
The
darkest phase in
restrictions
Which
on
year it happened actually?
sir, there is a certain controversy in 1975. What happened when
19?
election? Sorry, sir.
Which year?
In 1975.
Okay. Hmm.
Sir, what happened that the election of Indira Gandhi was held to be void when by Allahabad High Court, and Allahabad High Court said that the Indira Gandhi has misused her power in order to become MP. That is why election is void. So later, what happened when her case was pending in Supreme Court? She declared the emergency on ground of internal disturbance, and that is the phase of fertilization which happened, and many opposition leaders were also arrested, detained illegally. So many people died in custody. So that was darkest phase in democracy. And the trigger point of emergency was the election, which was held to be void by Allahabad High Court.
Ah, ah.
That's it, sir.
You are correct.
many of restrictions
And sir,
were
I
posed on the media
excuse me, sir.
also, and it was extendable of 21 months from 1975 to approximately 1977.
77.
Emergency was extended, and many
And sir,
restrictions on media press were imposed, and leaders were arrested and detained in jails.
Yes, of course.
sir, I have one more thing
The
to say.
line somewhere 2 years or so. 21 weeks is a good number of months actually, if you see. Okay. So just a quarter of months are left out to complete that 2 years of emergency. So it was the longest period when we were actually in the phase of emergency. Country was facing so many black spots were actually during the democracy, or if we talk about the democracy as a democratic country, that was the that was a that was called
Darkest
as a
phase.
black spot, of course, because being a democratic, how and emergency can be actually there in the country. So that is why. But what was the post effect of this actually emergency? What was it?
Sir, Indira Gandhi lost the election in 1978. New government came into existence. This was the first time after, since independence that a non-Congress government was able to form the government in center. And sir, there was certain amendment made in the Article 352 in order to prevent the misuse of the emergency provision. So, say in 1975, Indira Gandhi declared emergency on the ground of internal disturbance. After 44th Amendment, that internal disturbance was replaced by armed rebellion. So these were changes which were made in Article 352, and it was the first time when any non-Congress government was able to form the government in center. But
Okay.
that's another thing that that the government which was formed, Morarji Desai was the prime minister, but the government collapsed just after 18 months because it was a coalition government, not a full majority government.
Who was the prime minister at that point?
Morarji Desai.
Morarji Desai. And who is the kingpin
Sorry,
behind
sir.
all this? Who was the kingpin
So what do you mean by kingpin?
to make non-Congress government in center?
Indira Gandhi was only responsible.
No, of course not. Sivang, who was the kingpin in this?
Jayaprakash
Sir,
Narayan.
I think J. Prakash Narayan was there.
Narayan was the, JP was the kingpin actually.
Sir, because
Yeah.
JP Andolan was very famous at that time.
Definitely.
If you see, if you
First
see
person
the,
who marched protest.
if you go to the past and review the articles or review the newspaper headings, more news was about JP Andolan or JP Narayan rather than Morarji Desai to be the Prime Minister of India. And he transformed the notion actually, or the thought of the people that how the democracy should be and what can be the shape for the people or the organization, those who should be, who should fight for the democracy. There was a different narration being given by JP Andolan and JP Narayan, which several other organizations keep on following, and still now we are following. JP Andolan started where? Which state?
Bihar.
And why he was fighting for?
So because there was a rising inflation, unemployment, and the government was also acting dictatorial manner, so that is why he marched a protest against Indira Gandhi.
And
But the beauty of the protest was a non-violent one. So at any stage, the violence never happened. It was a totally non-violent protest.
if you see the emergency period and the JP Andolan period, both were going parallelly actually. The emergency period and the JP Narayan period, the protest which was non-violent protest actually, it was going parallelly. And how the people around JP, of course, they came up with this. So many leaders actually grown up because of this JP Narayan. George Fernandez, our this thing, Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav, Mulayam Singh Yadav, and so other leaders were actually because of this JP Narayan, motion of JP Narayan reform or
Sir,
activist he was actually. Yeah, please come in.
Sir, Mamata Banerjee was also a side back of this Andolan only.
Even because of this JP Andolan or JP Narayan Andolan, okay, or the Janta Alliance came into existence, and this was the party actually. This was the party actually which was taken the charge of India after the election, the result of the election. Of course, Morarji Desai was the prime minister, but the party which was on the top or heading that particular election was, or the result of that election was Janta Alliance. Janta Alliance. So many great leaders were there, but it didn't last for more than 2 years or so.
So 18 months.
18 months or so, the alliance was there. And so many bifurcations occurred after this Janta Alliance, Janta D, Biju Janta, then after Janta Dal to Biju Janta Dal, and so many other bifurcations. So many parties got separated out of this.
Sir, at that time, sir, Aam Aadmi Party was not there.
Aam Aadmi Party was it was nowhere in the existence. Aam Aadmi Party came.
Sir, yeah, sir, it was recently it is established.
In
Aam Aadmi
2009, when the Andolan was going on related to corruption, it was formed at that point in time.
Okay, Alok.
Aam Aadmi
It was
Party
part
came
of
into,
Anna Andolan. Anna Andolan. It came from Anna Andolan.
Aam Aadmi Party came into existence after 2012 actually, because of the Anna Hazare's protest, non-violence protest against anti-corruption. Uh, the 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 motive or the motion was taken ahead by Anna Hazare, but these people like Arvind Kejriwal and his team members, they came forward and then they formed the government actually. So before that, the government, that is the party, before that, AAP was nowhere in the existence. Even the Arvind Kejriwal, he was an government official. He was a commissioner, assistant commissioner in income tax office before that. So it was nowhere in the picture. Just wait a while. I'm just coming. You guys can discuss on for other things.
So Alok, as you were speaking about Indira Gandhi, so how Indira Gandhi was found guilty on that?
The Allahabad High Court said that Indira Gandhi had misused the power, and she had taken unfair advantage of the public servants, and the public servants were helping her in fighting the elections. That is why Allahabad High Court said that this election is void one.
Okay, so matlab, she was found guilty at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys can't discuss around, for the election. Someone was there actually, so that is why.
We discussed about Indira Gandhi's dictatorial regime.
What discussions are going around?
So why Allahabad High Court declared her election to be void one, and why I think that she was a dictatorial leader? That kind of discussion was
Yes,
going
sir.
on.
I asked this question from Alok.
Okay, and you know how many seats this Janta Alliance won actually? How many of total number of seats are there for general election?
So 545 seats.
545, yes. So Janta Alliance in the year 1977, they have won somewhere around 298 seats. How many seats did our today's government won? That is,
Sir, excluding coalition, the BJP was able to secure 303 seats, but if we compile, the NDA was able to secure 353 seats. Hold the NDA government. 353.
353. Okay, and if you see this win or that win, if you compare the win of Janta Alliance to the win of today's present government, which one is the bigger
So the present government.
in terms of number, or if we talk about the in terms of achievement, which one is bigger?
So the present
Janta
government.
Alliance. Janta Alliance.
Janta Alliance. Why? Because if you see from 1952 to 1977, how many years it is?
Sir, around 25, 27 years.
Around 25 years. It took India to actually change the notion or to seek support of any other party rather than going with the Congress. People in India thought of, let us try some other people too. But it took some 25 years, so long years actually. And because of one person or because of the one movement, that is JP Narayan movement. And that is why in pursuit for the achievement, this was more bigger actually. In terms of numbers, of course, the present election number is higher if you take. Okay. Now you go to the okay. When we country as a whole go for an coalition government, when was that era or when was that actually occasion? First occasion. Which was the party?
In
Which came-
1989, thing that the era of coalition started.
when
In so 1989, 1990s, around that year only.
Okay, but which was the first party to complete 5 years of term as a coalition government?
The NDA only, sir.
Hmm.
1998.
BJP was the first party to complete 5 years of term. Although there was so many coalitions during the Janta Alliance, there was no such coalition. They were single party. Okay, they was called as a Janta Alliance. Post that, elections were going around, but Congress keeps on winning after that also. And before BJP to come a full-time 5 years term, before that also the coalition was there, but no such government actually completed their full 5 years of term. BJP as an NDA was the first party to actually complete 5 years of term, that is coalition term, okay, as in coalition government. And who is the second to complete more than 5 years? Who was the second?
UPA government.
UPA government under Manmohan Singh. So just prior to Manmohan Singh, NDA has stated that they have complete 5 years of term as a coalition. And how many parties were there with UPA?
So I don't know the exact number. I think it was around 20.
It was 13. For UPA, it was 13. And how many for NDA?
23.
Earlier, some 20 parties were there, then they shrink to 17 to 18 parties. Okay.
So how much their parties are currently in India?
How many parties are totally currently in India?
NDA.
If you see the data which I have shared on that particular day, some 700 parties are there, I think. 700 different.
I'm talking about parties in NDA, sir, in coalition in India. How many parties?
See, the previous government were having during that Atal Bihari Vajpayee's era, somewhere 20 to 21 parties were there. Okay, in that particular coalition, but that shrank to 17.
Yes, sir.
By the end of that year, they were having a coalition of 17 parties in one, that is NDA. And Congress were having 13 parties in coalition. So, okay, we keep on talking about election in India. What is your thought on women participation in election?
So women participation is not much since independence of India.
How much?
I have seen the report of the Association of Democratic Reforms. So I don't remember the exact number, but they have said that the representation of women is not much in India since our independence. And apart from this, there is a lack of representation of minorities as well.
Okay, how much participation of women is there in elections? Representative, that is government representative. What is the percentage of that? Can anyone know about this or say about this?
So I don't remember. I think I have read this particular data somewhere, but I don't remember the data.
Okay, and what is the government per se or saying on this? What should be the percentage of this, or what they are promising?
33%, I think. They have reserved 33% seats for women only.
What they are promising?
33%, I think.
They are promising for 33%. Okay. Either you take, if you speak to Congress separately, if you speak to BJP separately, every now and then this comes into discussion in various forms and forums that 33% representation should be given to women leaders, of course, in parties. But it is very amazing to see that the participation of women in leadership roles in these political parties is somewhere between 10 to 12% only. The present government, that is BJP government, is having higher percentage, that is 12%. And the previous government, which was, I'm not talking about Congress only, the previous representation by either the Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government or Janata Dal or Janata Alliance or even the Congress, the representation of the women was somewhere between 9 to 11 only, not more than that. Of course, only 1% increment is there by this government also. So they might be talking about this, but once taking into consideration or once giving to the women, no other party is coming, even the half mark. That is, even the half.
But this NDA government has made maximum representation of the women since our independence, sir. I think their maximum number of women in the council of minister.
You are wrong, of course, Alok. Alok, the percentage of women, even by NDA government, is 12% only.
Yes, sir, but it is. I am saying as compared to the government, it is much higher than them.
How much higher? Only the 1%.
Okay.
Earlier government was having it 11%, and before that it was 10%. So we are talking about 33%.
So that
And
means
we are
there
giving
were
all this-
reservation for women.
No, not reservation for women.
Then
Reservation for women, of course, we are talking about the reservation for women. But once giving opportunity to women, it is also less.
Okay,
If I'm saying that more number of women should come in as a leader in political parties, the representation is very less. You take any of the party. Of course, BJP is the highest, that is 12%, but other parties are 10 or 11%. And they are talking about 33%, but they are not giving it. Okay. Which, and if you compare this data, if you compare the data with the global data, and take the case of Latin America, Caribbean countries, European countries, they are somewhere good in this. They are giving participant or they were giving active participation to these women leaders, of course. There is 30% leaders are there in European and Central Asian countries. And likewise, 33% is being given in Latin America or Caribbean countries as a leadership role. One thing is there, if you compare the data of Panchayati Raj election, okay, you will find more number of women councillors. That is 53% or so is being given at that particular level, that is grassroots level leaders. Okay. But there is one big story behind that. All those ladies, those who are actually representing as a woman contestant in Panchayati elections, the government is indirectly being run by the husbands. Okay. So
Yes, sir, because their husbands are having some criminal record due to which they can't contest the
yes.
elections. So their
Or
wives
in some
can.
time, or in some of the
sir, in some cases, sir, there are factors that only women can only apply.
There are certain places reservations are given only to SC, ST. In certain places, the reservations are given only to women leaders, and that is why these male members, they are asking their ladies, they are asking their female members to come be at the center of the that particular role as a photogenic person only, but the complete system is being run by the male members only. At the back end, male members are only working. So whenever we are talking or we are saying that women representation should be there, if Congress is coming or BJP is saying that 30%, 33% reservation shall be given to them, so ask them how many women leaders are there in your party. If you count the total number of women representation in their party itself, it is very less. They are talking about this, but numbers are very few. Okay, I was discussing about this Panchayati Raj system. What was that amendment as per the constitution? What was that amendment?
73rd and 74th.
73rd amendment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I have, yeah. 73rd amendment. Which year? This started?
1990, sorry, sir, 1990s, 1992, I think.
1992. Which was, okay. And what is that level?
Sorry, sir.
What is the level of rural development, or what is the level of this Panchayati Raj system?
So as you discussed in the class, so there is सरपंच and then प्रधान सबसे गांव में नीचे होगा, उसके ऊपर कहते हैं हमारा एक और कोई था, उससे ऊपर हमारा सरपंच है. लोकल लेवल बॉडीज का बताया था लेवल इतना इस तरह.
Let me give you a refined structure of how this Panchayati Raj system is as per the Election Commission of India. If you take the case of village, the Gram Panchayat will be there. Okay. Now, if you go to the blocks, in the blocks, either the block Samiti will be there, or the Mandal Parishad will be there, or Panchayat Samiti will be there. Keep on writing this, that in the village, Gram Panchayat, in block, Panchayat Samiti, Mandal Parishad or Block Samiti will be working. At district, Jila Panchayat will be working. Okay, can you name the states which are not following this Panchayati Raj system? There are still some states which are not following this Panchayati Raj system. Who all are these states?
So Jammu Kashmir.
No. This is a very new state, of course. You cannot say on that. But
Telangana.
Which states are not following it? Panchayati Raj system. Any idea?
So I think it's Telangana.
Not Telangana.
So northeast states, Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya.
Northeast states. These states are Nagaland, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and all
UTs are also not following this system. UTs.
All UTs are also not following this particular system. Why UTs are not following?
Sir, because UTs come under the governance central government, so that is why it is not required to have Panchayati system.
Not following UT is this, but why these states are not following? We all also don't know. These states are very much reluctant that we will not go for such a reform. Okay, what is the percentage of women representation in these Panchayati Raj? What is the percentage?
Some more than 40, I think.
It is somewhere 56.49%, 57% is. Out of 31 lakh total councillors in this Panchayati Raj elections, councillors in the sense the heads, okay, 13.75 lakh, somewhere close to 14 lakh are women actually. Now you can think for the number. 14 lakh women are actually representing these village level or the block level positions, but still, because these positions are being indirectly being ruled or acted by the male members, the women participation or the support for the woman is not been given. Again, we are saying that so much crimes are going around, even in rural area also. No such facilities is been given to the women representatives. Though we have good numbers, but because the legislation or the responsibility for running these reforms, running these positions and the role is being done by the male members. That is why this is actually the chances of the problem is. Okay, now coming to the age. What is the age actually to cast any vote? What is the age limit?
Sir, earlier it was 21. After I don't remember the amendment number, but it was reduced to 18.
In which year we did this?
So that's why I've said that I don't remember the year and the number of amendment.
In the year 1988, we did this actually, and the amendment was 326th amendment.
So 346.
26.
So 326 amendment.
326th amendment. Article
So I
3
think
amendment. We did no 300, not 326th amendment. We did amendment in Article 326.
that's why I'm saying that.
We did the amendment in the Article 326. In the Article 326, it's been written that age to cast the vote is 21 years. We amended that age from 21 years and reduced it to 18 years. Why we did it, or what was the intent being given? Can anyone define it? Why did we did this?
Sir, I think that the government might have thought that now the population is quite mature to cast the vote at the age of 18. Earlier they were not. So that must be the possible reason.
Can anyone say on this? What was a reason given by government to do this? Because to do anything, a government has to give a reason why they are going to do this. What was that reason given by them?
Sir, because at the age of 18 years, the government thought that physically and mentally individuals become active to do or take his own decisions independently. So it was reduced to 18.
Government has given an affidavit that post 18 years of age or up to 18 years of age, our generations or our citizens are well formed and they have the good capacity or a capability to understand about the good and bad. And secondly, they have a good understanding on the politics. So they can choose on the best government. And that is why let us reduce this age limit, which is now 21 years to 18 years. This was actually the reason given by that point of time the government of India, okay, that we are going to reduce from age limit of 21 years to 18 years. So students do remember the year, that is 1988, and do remember the change in the article 326. Because of
The
this,
amendment was a 61st amendment.
60
First.
61st amendment. Yeah. How many amendments we have, Alok, up to now?
Sir, I don't know exact number, but total number of bill we are having 127, but the bill which have been passed are 105 or 106.
Somewhere around, I think 106 amendments we have up to now.
Yes, constitution amendments.
And what is the difference between this, the amendments and the bill?
Sir, actually, many times the constitution amendment bill have been proposed in the parliament, but those bill were not passed. That's the reason. The recent amendment was that OBC reservation wala case jo tha, sir. Now a constitutional body has made for the development of the OBC as per the Article 38B.
See, sometimes government is proposing, or the legislative body, or the, of course, institutional bodies supporting this or proposing it in the parliament that let us do this particular reform. But due to some reasons or otherwise, that particular action is not being taken forward to come as a bill. Okay, to come as a amendment actually. Come in the constitutional amendment. Bill was there, it was introduced, but it didn't turn up as an amendment or became a law. Okay, so there is a big difference between bill, between the amendment and the law, and you guys should actually understand about this. Okay. Now coming to very good reform, that is nota. What is nota in election?
So the person who is not looking any candidate can also choose none of the above.
None
So
of
that
the
means
above.
no one, sir, he can vote, but he can vote, sir, but no, not to any other, not to any party.
Yes. See, we are privileged that we can cast our vote. But at some point of time, if we see the list of the candidates, and I found that no one is actually eligible out of this particular list, then what to choose? Post 2014 or 2013, we were not having this particular facility that we can choose on that. None of these are available as if you take my consideration or if you take my point on this, no one is eligible actually. But we were not having this particular option given in the ballot paper or the ballot boxes or the ballot machine, that is EVM machine. When this amendment came into the picture, or when we get, firstly, it was introduced in the year 2009. By whom it was introduced?
By UPA government.
By Election Commission of India.
Okay, sir.
But it was rejected by all the members. नहीं नहीं ये नहीं होगा, ऐसे कैसे होगा, ये क्या चीज है. लेकिन तब तक क्या हुआ? What we were discussing is, हम लोग उस दिन PIL डिस्कस कर रहे थे, याद है?
Yes, sir.
एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने इस चीज की PIL दायर कर दी 2013 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कि पर मुझको लगता है कि जब इलेक्शन होता है तो कोई भी आदमी एलिजिबल नहीं है, तो मैं क्या करूं, मैं कहां जाऊं. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उस PIL पे सख्ती दिखा दी. तो धीरे धीरे उस पर डिस्कशन शुरू हो गया. धीरे धीरे डिस्कशन शुरू हो गया तो 2014 में वो 2013 आते आते लास्ट तक आते आते वो लॉ बन गया. और 2014 के जनरल इलेक्शन में सबसे पहली बार नोटा यूज हो गया. So the story starts from 2009 and the law came into the picture when public becomes the end user of that particular nota in general election of 2014. So from 2009 to 2014, some 5 years of struggle was there. And just because of that particular PIL submitted in Supreme Court, this particular reform came into the picture. Okay. And there was one good movie. If you see, that movie was something around, or the English movie. I think that was an English movie for Captain Planet. The story was behind the scenes of the elections, and 3 persons were forerunners for that election. And what they did is they hijacked the 4th person. Okay. And they hijacked the 4th person so that he should not go and become the forerunner for that particular election. And that becomes an example to think for nota, that this can be actually used as a story or to justify that particular nota, that we 3 are runners or running up for the election, and if the 4th person is coming who is very plain, clean, not at all corrupt, and he is coming, he will be taking, or he will be actually winning it. So what they did is they hijacked that particular person or kidnapped that particular person. And the thought of nota is somewhere symbolic to this, that I am not going to choose you all. I want someone else to actually come in the picture. Just an connected anecdote to actually this particular reform, that is nota. Now comes to what are those reforms? We have some good stories. Okay, I was discussing about that particular internet, that is country having complete this thing elections. What was that election, or what was that country?
Sir, Estonia.
Estonia. They are doing internet voting. Okay, using an internet and doing the voting for their to choose their leaders or choose their prime minister or the president. What exactly they are doing, or what can be the format of that? Any idea? How they are doing it, or what they are doing it? No idea. You know Aadhaar card number?
Yes, sir.
Can we use Aadhaar card number to go for internet voting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How?
So because through that UDI number, we can identify the person itself.
What is that Aadhaar number? Aadhaar number is
The unique identification number.
unique identification number. The same format they are actually using. What they are doing is they are giving a unique PIN number to each of the resident and each of the citizen of that particular country, and using that particular PIN number and using the password and the day of the election with time limit, that is within the time sort of 1 hour or 2 hours, you need to cast your vote. This is the first country, and each and every country is actually now reading about the case study of this Estonia. But only thing or only considerations when we are talking about this particular case study or this particular format is the privacy of the person or privacy of the election system. Can anyone actually hijack this particular system, and or can this be actually make into a process where we can actually give a benefit to some other parties or the parties which we or the people or the group of the people or the community is actually looking for. So this is more concerned, but still Estonia, they have did this particular election twice now. Earlier they have did it as a case study, I must say. It was not a case study for them. For we, that was a case study, but they did is for their second term also this internet voting, of course, and this becomes a great, of course, technical interventions in election reforms. Coming to, do you know about proxy voting? How many of you know about the proxy voting? What is the proxy voting? Okay, what do you understand by proxy?
Sir, if one person casts two votes, that is false voting is also called a type of proxy voting.
Okay, if I give you a privilege that in a college your attendance is being given or you are marking your attendance, what you are doing this attendance using the proxy? What exactly you are doing?
So
So
proxy, proxy.
the proxy is
Sir,
something
like
that when we are
example, as you have
delegating.
given that we can use college ID card. So that means, sir, if I want to get the attendance, I will give my ID card to you, and you can get me the attendance there itself.
So proxy something basically means that when I'm delegating my authority, delegating my work to someone else. So in voting, we can say that whenever I am giving authority to any other person, so he could cast the vote on behalf of me. So that's a proxy voting.
And why? Can you give me the instance where we require this particular proxy voting?
Sir, in India, I think there is no such provision of proxy voting. It is a punishable offense.
Okay, and why we are talking about this proxy voting or
So because in I think in late 1560s there was a number of instances where the country saw that proxy voting is happening, and the person who wanted to vote his candidate is not able to vote him. but due to certain inducement threat, other person is giving the vote to his candidate on behalf of that person.
You know why we are discussing? We are discussing this because uh, Election Commission of India has proposed this proxy voting for our NRI voters. And what is the number of NRIs in India? Can anyone say the number of NRIs in India? Or did anyone of you know about the number of NRIs in India?
I think more than 1 lakh.
It's not more than 1 lakh.
So below that.
It is more than 3 crores.
Okay, sir.
What is the number? You got to know?
Yes, sir.
3 crores. And 3 crores matters a lot, actually. And if they need to cast their vote, they need to come here. Physically, they need to come here and then only they can cast the vote. Otherwise, there is no such provision in India. As if now, the proxy voting is not a law actually. But Election Commission of India has proposed this, that let us go for a proxy voting. But our MPs, MLAs, they didn't agree. This has been proposed in Parliament also, but the proxy voting pattern in 2014 was in the year of 2017. This pattern, proxy voting pattern, was proposed by Election Commission to Government of India, that is present government, that is during the NDA government of India. But all the Lok Sabha Rajya Sabha members, they declared it that this cannot be done. And it is still pending. Of course, they didn't decline it, but there was no such discussion going around. And it means we are not following or going for it. But this can change actually the narration of the voting, or this can change the narration of the results which are coming in, because 3 crores and above numbers are huge actually. So that is why Election Commission is taking, because see, the nodal agency, Election Commission of India, more there are likelihood to be that they are being actually appointed by government of India. But the Chief Election Commission or the Election Commission, they are not biased more or less. They are less biased as compared to other bodies of the government. Okay. So, but point is not being considered by our, or not being discussed by our members, that is member of parliament and uh, parliamentaries and legislative assemblies. It's not been discussed and still pending actually. But if this reforms comes in, that proxy voting is allowed, there will be likelihood of changes in the result, and the way the pattern the elections are going, that will also change. And likelihood that if people are saying that we are going for a proxy voting, the internet kind of voting can also be actually sampled in, or can we think for, rather than going and saying that proxy voting and asking one person to actually give an authority to second person to cast vote, and the second person can cast the vote not as per the view of that particular person for whom he or she is actually casting that vote. There will be the chances that he will actually cast that particular vote as per his opportunity, or he will think some other opportunities or agendas set in while doing this proxy voting. So this both are interlinked. If we need to talk about the proxy voting in election, we need to then talk about internet voting too. Although constraint will be the privacy setting for this internet voting system. Okay, I was discussing about the background of elections, or when we started the election in the year 1952. So before actually going for an election in 1952, we have uh, we have given one of the law, or we have placed one of the law which has been actually approved by uh, government of India and the parliament. What was that law actually? which act is working whenever we are discussing about election commission, which is that specific act we are talking about, or if any type of reform is to be done in election, where we need to actually, or which particular act is to be amendment is required in which particular act.
The People Representative Act 1951.
Representative of People Act 1951. Each and everything, whatever is to be done in election, each and everything is been written in this particular act. So, if you want to take the powers uh, of a DM, role of a DM, role of a presiding officer, power of a presiding officer, uh, people those who are working in this particular election, modes and models of the election reforms, each and everything is being written in this particular act that is called as the Representative of People Act. And any amendment, either in respective to the leader or either in respective to the voters, each and everything is being written there. And in this particular act, there is one amendment being given, or there is one concrete step being taken up. That is, each and every contestant need to actually give his or her accounting details. This particular reform or this particular act is working concretely or specifically towards the surveillance of election system. A transparent election should be there. They are monitoring each and everything. Either they are using the flying squads, or they are using the surveillance method, or they are doing the video surveillance, or they are even now using the drone surveillance during this election. But one certain good reforms are being taken under this particular People Act, and that one reform is disqualification for failure to lodge accounting expenses for election. So if a person is getting some amount for election by Election Commission of India or as a donation to that particular person or the party, he or she needs to give a complete details about the account. And if he or she is not able to give that particular account details in a time frame, then the chances will be there that that particular member will get disqualified. This is not only they are talking about the disqualification of the member or the irresponsibility of the member. Actually, they are talking about how we can monitor the expenses for elections. There are certain reforms which are actually coming in, or people are talking about the reforms whenever we are talking about this particular People's Amendment Act. Just coming to later point, do you know first election, or do you remember first election when it was?
1952.
1952. Who was our first law minister?
Honorable P.R. Ambedkar.
And what is he? You know, he lost both the elections, first election and the second election. Bhimrao Ambedkar was, although he was first law minister of India, but when he was there in the election in 1952, he lost it, and he lost the second election also, the Lok Sabha election. He got nominated as a Rajya Sabha member, and that is why he became law minister. But he was his two of these particular failures was there actually. Although he was our first law minister and he was heading the constitution. He was the chairman of the Constitution Assembly. Not
Sir,
chairman.
Sir, he was Chanakya of India.
Huh?
According to me, he was Chanakya of India.
Chanakya of India.
Yes, sir.
I can't say the Chanakya of India, of course, but he was a founding member. He had a good thought about what exactly the democracy is going to do. He had a good
Sir, he
life.
was the most educated person at that point in time. So I think he had more than 7 to 8 degrees.
You know, that is why Nehru asked Bhimrao Ambedkar to head this particular Constitution Assembly. Although there is, if you see the Constitution, this discussion is actually different from election actually. If you see the Nehru report and if you see the Constitution of India, more pointers or more things are there, but whatever the things are there in Nehru report, all of the things were actually the part of
Constitution.
Constitution of India. Okay, so Nehru was very nice person. He knows the eligibility, capability, qualification of each of the person, and as per that, he was asking people to actually take the responsibility. He was knowing it that if I ask this thing, Ambedkar ji to come in, take the role and responsibility, the better reform will be there in place. Better reform in format of constitution, better reform in format of course, constitution, democracy and all. But if he is there and if I am giving him the responsibility, then whatever the pointers are there in the Nehru report, they all will be the part of constitution. So, seeing this or the thought of Nehruji or the eligibility, I am not actually doubting on the eligibility of honorable law minister, previous law minister, but yes, there are certain other stories too running around. That is for the politics actually. Alok, he was a very nice person, very eligible and very confident person. He knows more about election reforms. He knows more about the people and how whatever he was writing it actually, whatever the thing he was writing on the record, all those things were actually he was knowing it, how it will save the country, how it will go, what all things will be there, and he had mentioned all those things. But that what will be the forfeiture of these amendments, these laws? But Chanakya, if I say he was the good lawmaker, but I will not give him the position of the Chanakya, of course, because Chanakya is something else in reforms, in politics, in public policy.
Sir, in terms of memory, we can give him such kind of designation.
In terms of
Memory.
memory, of course. In terms of knowledge, in terms of memory, you can say it was there.
Sir, we can call Sardar Vallabhbhai as Chanakya of India, as
Ah.
he united the country.
As a modern reformer, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was there. Because see, Chanakya means you need to be a Kutnitagi. Okay? Chanakya means that, na? Right? A person should be a Kutnitagi. And the person who can be the Kutnitagi, Ambedkar, he was not a Kutnitagi person actually. He was an eligible person, very knowledgeable person, but not the Kutnitagi. He was not doing all those things which was out of the box or which was not at all written in the constitutions or which was not at all written. But Vallabhbhai Patel ji was doing each and everything. Whatever is good for the country, he keeps on doing. Whatever good thing he thought of that this is required for our country, for integration of that our country, he keeps on doing. Although there There happens to be here and there things, but of course. Yeah. Now, can you tell me what type of ink we are using in elections?
So what type of ink
ink
जो मार्क करने के लिए यूज होता है ना उंगली में?
mark करने के लिए जो यूज होता है? What is that ink actually? You guys know about it?
Sir, it's called indelible ink. It doesn't wash
Indelible
off
ink.
very soon.
Yes. Where were you up to now? Just listening, huh?
And
Yes,
sir, it
sir.
was made up of some certain chemicals which is not easy to remove.
What was that chemical?
Sir, I think sir, some dye.
Some dye.
Yes, sir.
No, it's not dye, Baba. It's a silver nitrate. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, concentrated silver nitrate.
And what is the property of the silver nitrate? Can anyone tell me? Why I'm saying every now and then, can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me?
Sir, I think it is sir skin friendly.
It is not skin friendly actually. It is. Wait a while. I'm just logging in. Still, I'm finding difficulty to log in. Wait. What is that material? What is that material?
So concentrated silver nitrate.
Silver nitrate. Okay. And wait.
I am not having much knowledge about chemistry, so I cannot tell you.
Actually, it's not about. Not about chemistry. It's about what I have shared to you. Have you gone through it or not? That is why I am asking more and more. So that ink is I'm audible to you all?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
What is that ink?
The silver. It is made of silver
That
nitrate.
ink is silver nitrate. Made up of what is going?
So I think sir, it is a normal blue ink in which silver nitrate is added. Sir, to make it more concentrated. Hello, sir. Is my voice audible?
Yeah, your voice is audible.
Sir,
Hello.
I'm saying that it is a normal blue ink, I think, in which concentrated silver nitrate is added.
Silver nitrate is added to this, and this is more photosensitive actually. Okay, photosensitive in terms of because this is photosensitive, and it has been kept in either amber or brown colored glass bottle. Okay, one important thing is it takes 2 days or 3 days to actually erase this particular ink, and that is why it has been used in that particular format and in our elections, so that people cannot erase it and we can identify the person whom whoever has casted his or her vote. Okay, what is the agency? Those actually, which is the scientific agency uh, who have made this particular ink? One fine day, I was actually taking the name of this particular agency. What was it? During the class, I have taken the name of this particular agency.
Sir, Indian agency or it is a foreign agency?
It's Indian agency.
So ICMR.
No.
The agency that is used to make this ink.
Agency who is actually making this ink. What is that agency? Which agency is making it? Okay, what is which particular agency is forming all this technical, either filing the technical patents or actually giving the yes no to all these technical reforms? Which is the agency usually in chemical industry or pharma industry? Suppose someone has to take a confirmation that I'm making this particular what you call what is this? This particular article is there. I have formed this article. Now I have to take the permission that I need to go for uh, 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 take the patent also, and I need to actually sell it out. So what is that agency with whom I have to take the permission? If I am in the pharmaceutical or chemical industry, what is that agency? Or any type of course, scientific or industrial research is there. Any machine is there in the company.
So we have to take the permission from, I think, so Bharat Tech Private Limited.
Bharat Tech Private Limited is a private company. We need to take a permission from Indian company or Indian body, that is Government of India, or the company which is coming under Government of India. That is public sector undertaking company will be there actually. You know about the public sector undertaking company? Did you guys know about public sector undertaking? What exactly it is? Okay,
So
how
the
many?
governmental companies, so the companies which are owned by the government, that they and
Okay.
they come to do a particular task. They some कहते हैं कि ये public undertaking company है.
Let me give you the idea. How many types of companies we have? Do you know this about this?
The private
Usually
sector, public sector.
we have a public sector company and we have a private sector company. Private sector company means totally owned by the person. That is Reliance, Tata, or
Yes.
Adani
Mahindra.
Group. Adani Group. These all are the private companies. Okay. But if I say BSNL, okay, or BHL, Bharat Heavy Electronics Limited, or if I say Bell, Bharat Electronics Limited, okay, and if I say DRDO, if I say uh, uh, ISRO, okay, this or ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Company, okay, or what is that petroleum company? One is ONGC and some other is the forerunner with this company. These all are coming under public sector companies. Public sector companies means out of the 100% stake or 100% shareholding, 51% or more of this will be of government. Okay. So whatever the companies, they can be run by the private entities or the private actually players or the heads, but the 51% or more stake will be from the government. So it means whatever they are doing or whatever the functioning is going around in that particular company, that particular company will be actually working under Government of India, and that is why it's been called as a public sector undertaking or PSU or public company. We call it in a layman, we call it a public sector undertaking. Okay, they have undertaken shares of that particular company, and that is why it is coming PSU. So here we were discussing about indelible ink, which is used in elections to identify the person, whether he or she have casted his vote in this upcoming election or not. This has been actually used since 1950 And Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, is the body. They have actually framed, or they have prepared this particular chemical, which is a form of silver nitrate mixed or having a property of photosensitive. So you can use it whenever you are applying it in the body of yours. It will be there for 2 days at least. Then only it will go off. And usually it's been kept at in the bottles of color brown or in bottles of amber. So you might be knowing about this. And yes, using this particular ink in any other form or in any other format is punishable act. Okay. So you will not find, although the teachers, those who are actually using it, they keep on using this particular. Okay. Uh, two more topics I will take and then I will leave for the day, because 2 or 3 topics. Okay. Left out is 2 or 3 topics. Okay. How many of you know about the counting agents? Do you know about the counting agents?
No, sir.
अच्छा, ये पता है कि इलेक्शन में अकेले सिर्फ इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया के लोग काम नहीं कर रहे होते, ये तो पता होगा?
Yes, sir.
इलेक्शन में सिविल के लोग क्या काम कर रहे होते हैं?
सर फॉर एग्जांपल जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट है वो एक इलेक्शन कमिश्नर बन जाता है उस दिन के लिए इसमें इलेक्शन कंडक्ट होते हैं।
ठीक है, मैं बता रहा हूँ, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, हम अगर इलेक्शन सेंटर पे बैठे हैं, ठीक है, तो इलेक्शन सेंटर पे कौन कौन होता है वहां पे?
पोलिंग ऑफिसर्स,
हाँ,
और सर पुलिस, सर टू मेंटेन दैट, टू सी दैट देयर इज नो
लॉ एंड ऑर्डर।
यस सर, यस सर, एंड सर as I know this much.
अच्छा, 2 लोग और काम करते हैं इलेक्शन में। देखो, इलेक्शन में एक पोलिंग ऑफिसर होता है, प्रिसाइडिंग ऑफिसर होता है, पुलिस के लोग होते हैं, स्टाफ मेंबर जो ड्यूटीज कर रहे होते हैं वो होते हैं, 2 प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स काम कर रहे होते हैं। प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स मतलब पार्टी के लोग होते हैं जो इलेक्शन की बूथ पे काम कर रहे होते हैं। कौन कौन से वो होते हैं, कुछ आइडिया है? किसी को कुछ आइडिया कि इलेक्शन के जगह पे जहाँ इलेक्शन हो रहा होता है वहां पार्टी के कुछ लोग काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनका नाम क्या होता है?
बूथ एजेंट।
हाँ, एक होता है बूथ एजेंट और एक होता है पोलिंग एजेंट। बूथ एजेंट क्या करता है? और एक चीज और, बूथ
सर वो अपने बूथ तक लाता है वोटर्स को बूथ तक लाने की जिम्मेदारी उसकी होती है।
बूथ एजेंट और पोलिंग एजेंट 2 अलग फॉर्मेट हैं, दोनों फॉर्मेट काम करते हैं, दोनों फॉर्मेट को बकायदा इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया से लेटर जाता है। ये पार्टी के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होते हैं। इनका काम क्या होता है, इनका मेन काम क्या होता है, किस लिए इनको रखा जाता है? बूथ एजेंट और काउंटिंग एजेंट किस लिए होते हैं? कोई आइडिया?
Sir, to attract people towards their booth and help them in casting votes.
देखो, इलेक्शन का इलेक्शन कराने का सबसे बड़ा मकसद, मेजर मकसद इलेक्शन कराने का होता है मोर एंड मोर नंबर को हम इलेक्शन के बूथ पे लेके आ सकें। ठीक है, अब मोर एंड मोर नंबर को इलेक्शन बूथ पे लाने के लिए वहां के लोकल लोगों की जरूरत हमेशा पड़ेगी। उनके बगैर ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग इलेक्शन में नहीं आ सकते। ठीक है, इसलिए हम ये करते हैं। अब हम क्या करते हैं, और दूसरा एक चीज ये है कि इलेक्शन का जो रिजल्ट आए, इलेक्शन का जो प्रोसेस हो, वो भी ट्रांसपेरेंट हो, सबको पता चले, उसके कोई भी लोग विटनेस बन सके। मैं इस बात को बिलीव नहीं कर सकता कि प्रिसाइडिंग अफसर ने जो कह दिया वो सच हो गया। मैं इस बात को ये नहीं कह सकता कि जो वहाँ पुलिस के लोग हैं उन्होंने ही सच कहा। ये अलग अलग टाइम पे अलग अलग पार्टी के लोग बोल सकते हैं। इस चीज को एड्रेस करने के लिए कि वहां पे वहां के जो लोग हैं ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग आ सकें, उसके लिए बूथ एजेंट काम करते हैं। यूजुअली हर पार्टी से 5 आदमी का नाम जाता है बूथ एजेंट के लिए, कि हमारी पार्टी के ये 5 लोग हैं और इनको बकायदा आई कार्ड मिलता है, और ये 1 हफ्ते पहले से नोटिफाइड हो जाते हैं, बूथ एजेंट भी और पोलिंग एजेंट भी, कि ये लोग काम करेंगे वहाँ बूथ पे या पोलिंग बूथ पे, सेंटर पे जहाँ पोल सेंटर पड़ रहा होगा। तो बूथ एजेंट का काम होगा कि जो लिस्ट बन के आती है, पोलिंग लिस्ट बनती जो है, वहाँ की बूथ की जो लिस्ट बनती है, उसको वो देख के बता देता है कि तुम्हारा किस बूथ पे तुम्हारा वोट है, किस लाइन में जाके तुमको लगना है। क्योंकि हो सकता है कि एक ही सेंटर में 10 जगह 10 अलग अलग वार्ड के वोट पड़ रहे हो, तो उसको बताना पड़ेगा कि आप उस वाले लाइन पे जाके लगिए। वो बूथ एजेंट ही बताता है, और वही मेन मिलाप भी करवाता है जो आपके पास डॉक्यूमेंट होता है उससे, और या आपके पास अपना इलेक्शन वोटर कार्ड होता है, उससे वो मैच करके आपका कहाँ, और आपको वो जो पर्ची मिलती है उसको भी वही देता है। अगर आजकल तो ऑनलाइन सिस्टम है, आप निकाल सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर आप नहीं जानते हैं तो वो बूथ एजेंट का काम है। अब आते हैं हम पोलिंग एजेंट पे। पोलिंग एजेंट यूजुअली टोटल इलेक्शन कमीशन 15 पोलिंग एजेंट को असाइन करता है हर इलेक्शन के टाइम पे, हर जगह पे। अब ये करते क्या है, देखिए वोटर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटर मशीन जो जाती है ना, जब पहुंचती है, तो कि ये सही काम कर रही है, सही तरीके से वोट डाला जा रहा है, इसको लास्ट वोट के बाद लॉक कर दिया कि नहीं कर दिया, जो क्या बोलते हैं बैलेट बॉक्स में जो अलग से वोट डाले गए, अलग से कई बार ऐसा हुआ कि जो टेंडर बैलेट बॉक्स में अलग से वोट डाले गए, उनकी काउंटिंग, ठीक है, उन सब चीजों को, नंबर ऑफ काउंट, ये नहीं वो डिसाइड करते कि इसमें कितने हैं, लेकिन नंबर ऑफ काउंट वो भी साथ में, जब पोलिंग एजेंट पोलिंग अफसर देख रहा होगा, तो पोलिंग क्या बोलते हैं, ये पोलिंग ऑफिसर जब इसको लिख रहा होगा और वेरीफाई कर रहा होगा, तो पोलिंग एजेंट भी वहां साइन करता है कि हाँ 15 अलग टेंडर बॉक्स में वोट पड़े थे, अपार्ट फ्रॉम ईवीएम मशीन की। ईवीएम मशीन को जब लॉक किया गया, तो ईवीएम मशीन को जब लॉक किया जाता है, तो अभी वो साइन करता है कि मैंने ईवीएम मशीन में लॉक हुई तो मैं था, लास्ट वोट पड़ चुका था, और उसके बाद उसको लॉक किया गया। ऐसे ही ईवीएम मशीन के साथ में आपको पता होगा कि हम क्या बोलते हैं, पेपर स्किप वेरिफिकेशन भी करते हैं, ईवीएम मशीन के साथ में अटैच करके वोट डालते हैं और पेपर निकालते हैं साथ में। माना यह जाता है कि हर एक जगह पे जहाँ पे इलेक्शन होता है, वहाँ के वोट डालने की प्रक्रिया के टाइम पे हम 10 डमी वोट डाल के देखेंगे कि ये मशीन काम कर रही है सही से कि नहीं कर रही है। जब ये ऐसा हो जाता है, तब वहाँ साइन कर दिया जाता है कि इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटिंग मशीन सही काम कर रही है। ये सब काम करने के लिए पोलिंग एजेंट की जरूरत पड़ती है, जो कि हर पार्टी से होता है, सिर्फ एक पार्टी का नहीं होता है। वहां पे जितने हमने नंबर ऑफ लोगों को असाइन करना होता है, हम कोशिश करते हैं हर पार्टी का एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव जरूर रहे।
सर अगर कोई इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट है तो वो भी वहां पर रहेगा?
नहीं, जरूरी नहीं है, इसमें एक प्रावधान बस यही है, टोटल हम 15 से ज्यादा लोग नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन हम ये मानते हैं कि जब गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स काम कर रहे हैं, पुलिस अपना लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन कर रही है, और अगर हम 15 लोगों को ऐड करके अलग से, जो है अलग अलग पार्टी के हैं, अगर वो वहां पे हैं, तो ट्रांसपेरेंसी मेंटेन होगी, क्योंकि ज्यादा लोगों में अगर बात है तो वो ट्रांसपेरेंट ही बात रहेगी। ज्यादा लोग मिलके एक तरफ का डिसीजन या एक तरफ की चीजें नहीं लिख सकते, ठीक है, इस चीज को माना जाता है। और इस तरीके से वहां पे पोलिंग एजेंट और बूथ एजेंट काम करते हैं। बहुत जरूरी है पोलिंग एजेंट और बूथ एजेंट का वहां रहना, क्योंकि रिजल्ट का वेरिफिकेशन इस चीज पे डिपेंड करता है कि वो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मशीन क्लोज हुई थी कि नहीं हुई थी, उन पे इन लोगों का साइन हुआ था कि नहीं हुआ था। यह मैकेनिज्म सबको पता रहना चाहिए कि इलेक्शन के टाइम पे ये मैकेनिज्म होता है। यूजुअली हम जाते हैं, वी कीप ऑन गोइंग, कास्टिंग अवर वोट एंड कमिंग बैक, लेकिन वी नेवर थॉट ऑफ देर आर द पीपल दोज हु आर एक्चुअली working as on volunteer basis. They are not getting sometimes the payment also for that, although election commission is taking care of this, that उनको पेमेंट मिलती है, ठीक है, और जितने घंटे के लिए वो काम करते हैं, ठीक है, एंड दे आर वर्किंग फॉर द फॉर मेकिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर making this particular mechanism to go smoothly actually. ठीक है? This is why we are using the counting agents. Okay, now coming to uh, the discussion was which Alok was saying. Alok, what was that discussion? Proportional voting system. क्या है वो?
Representation. Yes, sir. Sir, actually, in many countries, there is a proportional representation system. Basically, that the number of seats will be equal to the number of percentage. So that's the proportional representation, and the people will be also giving the preferences. So in India, when we cast a vote in general elections or in election of Vidhan Sabha, we don't give up preferences. But in proportional representation, people will be giving preferences.
एक बार फिर से बताओ, इस चीज को फिर से बताओ.
सर जो फर्स्ट पास द पोस्ट सिस्टम है, से अभी हमारा जो करंट सिस्टम से कहते हैं फर्स्ट पास द पोस्ट, एफपीटीपी, जहां पर सिंपली हम एक कैंडिडेट को वोट डाल देंगे. लेकिन जो प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो ये कहता है कि जब आप वोट डालोगे तो आपके साथ प्रेफरेंस देनी पड़ेगी. पहली प्रेफरेंस फॉर एग्जांपल मोदी, दूसरा राहुल गांधी, तीसरा, चौथा, पांचवा, ऐसा प्रेफरेंस देते हैं इसमें रिप्रेजेंटेशन में.
ये हम कहाँ पे यूज करते हैं?
तो ये प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन में यूज होता है.
हाँ,
वाइस प्रेसिडेंट इलेक्शन में, लेकिन जनरल इलेक्शंस में नहीं होता है.
हाँ, तो ये हमें पता रहना चाहिए कि ये कहाँ पे होता है. तो प्रोपोर्शनलिटली हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि हम सबको वैल्यूज दे रहे हैं एक्चुअली 5 4 3 2 1. ठीक है? और प्रोपोर्शन के तरीके से उसको फिर इक्विटेट कर रहे हैं कौन वो हुआ. अच्छा, एक नया चीज जो शुरू या बात हो रही है, वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन. व्हाट इज दिस? कैन एनीवन से ऑन दिस? वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन क्या है ये?
Sir, I think that instead of having a voting in territorial constituencies, the person will be directly voting as a candidate of PM or CM like that.
वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन मीन्स हम जो बार बार इलेक्शन कराते हैं ना, स्टेट के एक बार, सेंटर के एक बार, पंचायत के एक बार, सारे इलेक्शन एक बार में होने चाहिए.
अच्छा सर.
1987 तक 1987 तक ये इलेक्शन का मेथड रहा है. ठीक है? 67 तक, हाँ, 1967 तक ये मेथड हमारे यहाँ रहा है कि हम सारे इलेक्शन एक ही साथ करवाते थे. उसके बाद से ये चलन खत्म हो गया और अब तो खैर कहीं पैटर्न नहीं है. अब राज्यसभा इलेक्शन क्या बोलते हैं, जनरल इलेक्शन अलग होते हैं और हमारे स्टेट्स के इलेक्शन अलग होते हैं. ठीक है? बट इससे फायदा होता है, इसके अपने फायदे और नुकसान हैं जिस पे हम डिस्कशन कभी करेंगे. लेकिन आपको बताऊं, स्वीडन, इंडोनेशिया, साउथ अफ्रीका, जर्मनी, स्पेन, कुछ ऐसी कंट्री हैं जो इस फॉर्मेट पे काम करती हैं. एक ही बार इलेक्शन होगा, जिस किसी का भी इलेक्शन करना है एक ही बार करेंगे हम. उससे हमारा टाइम बर्बाद नहीं होगा, उससे हमारा समय बर्बाद नहीं होगा, उससे हमारा पैसा बर्बाद नहीं होगा. टू अवॉइड वेस्टेज ऑफ मनी, यस, टू अवॉइड वेस्टेज ऑफ मनी एंड अवॉइड एनर्जी, और भी सारे काम करने होते हैं, इसलिए वो काम करें, इस काम को ना करें, इन चीज़ों के लिए है. लास्ट, इलेक्टोरल सिस्टम में कुछ कुछ चीज़ें हैं. इफ यू गाइस नो अबाउट दिस, डू लेट मी नो. प्लूरल वोटिंग क्या होती है?
सर क्या सर?
प्लूरल वोटिंग.
प्लूरल वोटिंग?
हाँ,
सर आई डोंट हैव एनी आइडिया.
जिसको सबसे ज्यादा वोट मिले उसको जिता दो, बस वही, ही विल ओनली बी द हेड. दैट इज द प्लूरल वोटिंग. मेजॉरिटी वोटिंग,
मेजॉरिटी वोट मतलब कि एक आपको बेंचमार्क पास करना पड़ता है, उसके बाद ही आप बना पाओगे सरकार अपनी.
जो 2/3 हमारे यहाँ सिस्टम है. ठीक है?
हाँ.
और प्रोपोर्शनल,
प्रोपोर्शनल मतलब होता है फॉर एग्जांपल 48% वोट्स मिले तो 48 सीट्स ही आपको मिलेंगी. परसेंटेज ऑफ वोट विल बी इक्वल टू परसेंटेज ऑफ सीट्स विद नंबर ऑफ सीट्स.
हाँ. एंड मिक्स सिस्टम,
सो इसमें सभी फॉलो हो रहा हो.
पैरेलल वोटिंग और मिक्स्ड मेंबर प्रोपोर्शन दोनों ही फॉलो होगा. ठीक है? हम दोनों ही तरीके की वोटिंग पे जाएंगे. हमारी इंडिया में कौन सी वोटिंग यूज होती है?
सो हमारे यहाँ मेजॉरिटी वोटिंग.
मेजॉरिटी वोटिंग से हम काम करते हैं. ठीक है, आज के लिए आई थिंक दिस इज मोर देन इनफ. any other question you would like to know about as if now which we have covered, and request all to actually switch on your videos also. किसी के पास कोई सवाल इलेक्शन रिफॉर्म को लेके?
No, sir.
कौन कौन से रिफॉर्म सीखे आज?
सर रिफॉर्म्स ये सीखे थे कि एज रिड्यूस कैसे हुई थी, नोटा वाला रिफॉर्म ने देखा सर, और कि वही टाइप्स ऑफ इलेक्शन, इंडिया में इलेक्शन किस टाइप तरीके से होते हैं और एजेंट्स क्या होते हैं, सब बताया अभी तो वैसे भी रिफॉर्म्स हम देखे थे।
सबसे बड़ा रिफॉर्म कौन सा है अभी तक का?
सर वो एज वाला।
इलेक्शन इंडस्ट्री में सबसे बड़ा रिफॉर्म क्या?
सर नोटा।
एनी अदर ऑप्शन?
सर नोटा अकॉर्डिंग टू मी इट इज द बिगेस्ट रिफॉर्म।
Yes, sir. I'll go with Alok.
सर आई थिंक पंचायत सिस्टम कैन आल्सो बी अनदर बिगेस्ट रिफॉर्म इन इंडिया।
हाँ, सबसे बड़ा रिफॉर्म मेरी समझ से जो मेरे को समझ में आया, एज रिलैक्सेशन या नोटा नहीं, ईवीएम मशीन है।
अच्छा सर।
क्यों पता है? प्रोसेस बहुत फास्ट कर दिया उसने। इलेक्शन का जो प्रोसेस है, जिस प्रोसेस में 3 महीने लगते थे, उस प्रोसेस को उसने अगर अगर आप एक ही दिन में सब जगह इलेक्शन करा दें तो दूसरे दिन आपके पास रिजल्ट है भाई, ये सिंगल क्लिक। सो मेरे हिसाब से ईवीएम इज द बिगेस्ट रिफॉर्म। ऑल्दो जो बाकी अदर रिफॉर्म्स हैं दैट कीप्स ऑन चेंजिंग। हमने एज को कम किया, कुछ इंटेंट लेके हमने नोटा को लेके आए कि हमारे अपने लोगों के विचार किस तरीके से हैं। हम बैलेट पेपर की या प्रॉक्सी बैलेट की बात कर रहे हैं, या हम बात कर रहे हैं वी आर थिंकिंग फॉर एनआरआईज आल्सो सो दैट दे कैन एक्चुअली कम इन। इंटरनेट वोटिंग वो एक बड़ा रिफॉर्म हो सकता है आगे आने वाले दिनों में, अगर हम शायद उसको करेंगे या उसको एग्जाम्पल करेंगे। कल मैं कुछ कोई स्टडीज और भी बताऊंगा जहाँ पे कुछ स्टेट्स में हमने जूनियर लेवल पे, मतलब गांव के लेवल पे रिफॉर्म जो है, जो सबसे मिनिमम लेवल है जहाँ पे इलेक्शन होता है, वहाँ पे हमने इंटरनेट वोटिंग को एज ए पायलट प्रोजेक्ट किया है कंट्री ने। 3 ऐसी जगह हैं जहाँ पे हमने पायलट प्रोजेक्ट किया है। रिजल्ट अच्छा है, लेकिन अभी हम उसको देख रहे हैं कि हाउ वी कैन गो अहेड फॉर दैट। Rest, I am looking for you guys. Whatever the queries are there, whatever the questions are there, do let me know on the chat or even the WhatsApp group also. And we keep on discussing on the same tomorrow also on the same time. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So tomorrow that means we don't need to come to the center.
As if now need not to come. Okay. Because as per the meteorological department, okay, the rain will be there up to 5th of July. But uh, if, if the changes are there, I will let you know. Okay.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Team leaders, anything you need to share?
And sir, tomorrow you'll have the presentation for assignment 3, right?
Yes, yes. Tomorrow we will have a presentation on assignment 3.